Good day, everybody. Hope you're doing well. We're going to talk about relationships, specifically relationships of gods with each other and some mortals, as suggested by Son of the Goddess. It's going to be a long one, so grab some snacks. Let's start with Furies. There are three: Alecto, Megara, and Tisiphone, and all three of them are sisters. It is never mentioned in the series who are the parents, but in mythology there are two variants. Either the father is Uranus, or they were daughters of Hades and Nyx. In general, it seems that the sisters maintain rapport with each other, though Alecto acts as the leader. They helped Ares with his plan to drive Xena mad, but after the plan failed, they had a grudge on him, and after the Twilight of the Gods, they psychologically tortured the now mortal god of war until Xena and Gabrielle saved him. Athena also used the Furies during the aforementioned Twilight of the Gods to drive Gabrielle mad and make her kill Eve. Moving on to Aphrodite. She, like many other gods, has a huge family tree. Her father was Zeus, but we don't know for certain who was her mother. Maybe it was Hera, maybe it was Dione. Like every Olympian, Aphrodite had many siblings. Among her brothers were Ares, Hermes, Apollo, Bacchus, and Hercules. And if we look at her sisters, we'll see Discord, Athena, Artemis, Persephone, and many others. As in every big family, relationships between its members vary quite a lot. Thus, Aphrodite treats Hercules as her protective older brother, affectionately referring to him as Big Bro, and she was probably the closest to him of all the Olympians. And even though Hercules later came to hate the gods, he did not hate her. Aphrodite frequently took his advice and assisted him on his adventures. She was also quite close with her brother Ares, largely due to the connection they shared. Remember that moment when Aphrodite literally goes insane when Ares loses his godhood? War and love must coexist in cosmic balance, yes. In spite of her affection for Ares, the goddess of love has no time for his flunkies, in particular Discord, with whom she shares a kind of adolescent rivalry. She also had some sisterly rivalry with Athena and Artemis. At some point, Aphrodite learned that Hephaestus was in love with her, and realized that she loved him too, so they became a couple. She also had two sons. The first one was Cupid, whose father was not specified, and with whom she had a generally strained relationship for a variety of reasons, namely her overprotectiveness and the fact that she is his boss as well as his mother. In addition to often disagreements with Aphrodite over their respective jobs, Cupid also was cursed by Hera because Aphrodite stole her lover. Cupid looked up to and respected Hercules. He married Psyche, and Aphrodite had a grandson Bliss, who caused quite some chaos for Xena and Gabrielle. The second son of Aphrodite was Dion, a half-god produced from one intimate night with a mortal fisherman, Jacobus. Unfortunately, he never met his mother. As for other mortals, Aphrodite eventually became friends with Iolaus, Hercules' best friend, although she was manipulating him during the initial encounter. Xena and Gabrielle often found themselves entangled in Aphrodite's harebrained schemes, though their relationship with her improved to the point where the goddess was even willing to stand up to Athena on their behalf. Next one is Apollo. His mother was Leto, his father was Zeus. As for Hercules, they went from love to hate, so to say. At first, they were friends, and Apollo treated him as an equal and tried in his way to teach him how to be a god. But later he grew jealous of Hercules' friends. Hercules in turn began to dislike Apollo after Apollo embarrassed Jason in front of the Corinthian troops. At that time, Apollo had a favorite mortal, Ariadne, but he still treated her with little respect, the fact which also was disapproved by Hercules. So when the time came, Apollo sided with Hera when she and Hercules were fighting for control of Olympus. Other than that, not much is known about his relationship with other deities. Ares. He is the son of Hera and Zeus. He is not very close with his parents and often tries to gain their approval, especially from Zeus. In Ares' relationships with other Olympians, he relies on the fact that they need him, so he usually runs his own schemes with little regard for the wishes of his colleagues, although he is still careful not to defy Zeus. He is generally fond of his sister Aphrodite, though he rarely lets it show. Discord, Deimos, and Strife are his junior partners, whom he bullies and directs. Ares' relationships outside the Olympians include competitive rivalry with Kal and a treasonous pact with Dahak. He is obsessed with the two greatest heroes of Greece, Hercules, his half-brother whom he wants to destroy, and Xena, whom he wants back to her warlord days and is in love with. Ares often attempts to lure Xena away from her quest with Gabrielle to join him as his warrior queen. He offers her huge armies and historic victories, great wealth and great power, and in later seasons his love. She consistently rejects these offers, despite being sometimes tempted. Ares has hated Hercules since he was a boy, noticing his half-brother gaining the love of their father Zeus, and has tried repeatedly to kill him. From teenhood to adulthood, Hercules and Ares go at each other in a fashion similar to sibling rivalry, though Hercules gains the upper hand every time. Throughout the series, the god of war had several somewhat long-lasting romantic relationships. For example, he had romances with Xena, Nemesis, Hope, and Eve. Ares also had 2 sons. Nemesis gave him Vanda, and with Hope he was going to have 6 destroyers, but only one was born due to Xena and Gabriel's interference in Dahak's plans. Artemis, daughter of Zeus and Leto, according to myth. She was also the older twin sister of Apollo, and the younger half-sister of such Olympians as Athena and the Fates, as well as the older one to Aphrodite, Ares, Discord, and Hercules. Being the middle child, sometimes Artemis had sister rivalry with Athena and Aphrodite. When Strife and Discord stole Artemis's harvest offering for Delos, she severely punished the 2 deities for their theft. She also stood with Zeus, Iolaus, Xena, Gabriel, Aphrodite, and Ares against Hera when the later released the Titans. At some point, Artemis had a son, Bellerophon, who loved his mother and tried to avenge her after her death. Unfortunately, it is unknown who his father was. Asclepius was never shown on screen, but was mentioned several times. According to mythology, he was a son of Apollo, but unlike his father in the series, he was happy to share the fruits of his domain with half-gods and mortals. For example, he taught Hercules how to make medicines from herbs and roots, and told Chimaeus about the effects of lotus leaf. Like Theseus, Hercules, and Jason, Asclepius was one of the students mentored by Ceridian. Next is Athena. Her parents were Zeus and maybe Metis. Athena is more understanding and caring than most other Olympian gods, and in return she is greatly beloved by mortals. For this reason, she rarely interacted with Hercules and Xena, as humanity didn't need to be defended from her, and her worshippers tended to be paragons themselves. Being a fair and just goddess, Athena holds great disdain for Ares. She had a favorite mortal warrior, Iolaus, and genuinely mourned her passing. Presumably because she was the first child of Zeus, by the law of the firstborn, in the later episodes Athena took Zeus's place after his death and thus ruled over all other Olympian gods. She continued her father's campaign to save Olympians and kill Eve. Moving on to the Fates. There are 3 sisters, Atropos, Clotho, and Lachesis. It is unclear who the parents are. Either their father was Zeus, or they didn't have one, and the mother was either Themis or Nyx. The Fates work with the other gods to determine the proper time for a person's death. Zeus's authority is the one they hold in highest regard.